Yo, what's up, Blackish fam? I hope all is well in your corner of the world. Man, really excited for today's breakdown because we're getting back into some Tobe Nwigwe. As you guys know, I became a fan right around the start of the channel. We started right around the start of 2022. And, we've already grown to almost 700 subscribers, which is crazy. Now, we're really looking to grow the platform. So I always try to incorporate new artists, and then we always do at least 2 to 5 songs for each artist that we check out. That way we can, get some context as to who they are, the type of music they put out, how lyrical they are. But I always come back to Tobe Nwigwe. It's something that kind of feeds me, right? There's a lot of substance in his work. His references are something I can definitely relate to. And we ended up starting with Eat and Fi-Fi, and now we have a playlist folder. If you go down to the playlist and check Tobe Nwigwe, we have about 70 different breakdowns there. So quite a bit. If you're a fan of Tobe Nwigwe, show some love by not just liking the video, but subscribing to the channel as well. It really helps in the algorithms that YouTube has to show relevant work to other people that might have an interest. So we appreciate your love and support. We're getting into Tobe Nwigwe. This is the NPR Music Tiny Desk Concert. Let's check it out together.
I'm an Igbo boy from the... What's good? My name is Tobe Nwigwe.
Is it a cartoon?
I'm an Igbo boy from the southwest side of Houston, and I came to put on for the SWAT in Houston, Texas.
Yeah, for the SWAT.
We roll.
The SWAT, he says, I'm an Igbo boy, right, from southwest side of Houston. That's one of the major tribes in Nigeria. I don't know if tribe is the best way to say that, but we definitely know that's where he comes from, and that's also the language that he speaks as well. But, he also said SWAT. SWAT is just an acronym for Southwest Alief, Texas. Alief is actually where he's from, right? Houston, Texas is like that metro area, but he's specifically from Alief, not spelled like A-L-E-A-F, but A-L-I-E-F, right? All right, let's get back to it.
On for the SWAT in Houston, Texas. We roll on choppers. I said, Southside, we roll on choppers.
Southside, man, one thing you gotta love too is how diverse his group is, right? Even though he's very pro-black, right? He always talks about issues like social issues, political issues, race issues. I love that he's not racist or doesn't discriminate himself, right? A lot of people, it's a two-way street. I hate hearing something, and I'm always like, if you can't do it on one side, you shouldn't do it for another. And just because he's very pro-black doesn't mean that he needs to have an all-black band, right? It's still important to be diverse, even though you have minorities in your group, right? The majority of your group. There's nothing wrong with just hiring the best people for the job. It doesn't have to be like, this many black people versus a Hispanic and a white guy, but just the best person of what you're looking to do. And I think that's what a lot of companies don't understand. We don't want to do affirmative action. I want the best person for the job to get the job. I just want to make sure that there's an equal opportunity for both people to be looked at as equals, right? Judge me by the content of my character, not the color of my skin.
On choppers, Southside we roll. On choppers, or hold it down, hold it down, hold it down.
We see you, Luke. Luke holding it down. Got voice of an angel.
Hold it down, hold it down, hold it down. We gon' hold it.
We see you with the arm sleeve, Luke. Look at you doing big things, feeling that music, boy.
Southwest gon' hold it down. Look, off the bat I attack. Word to Bruce Wayne. I spit crack and I stay strapped.
Word to Bruce Wayne, right? Bruce Wayne is the civilian version of Batman, right? So he said off the bat, that means get right into. Funny kind of side note, I like, incorporating in some random trivia or whatnot. But the phrase off the bat, it's most people assume it comes from baseball, right? And baseball, if you're not familiar, when a batter makes contact with the ball in his bat, he has to quickly run to first base, right, before someone can get the ball to first base. So it's right off the bat. You need to start running right away. You need to get into it right away. That's where the meaning off the bat comes from.
Don't need the shoestring, but don't confuse things. The good word to Bruce Wayne. I spit crack and I stay strapped. Don't need the shoestring, but don't confuse things.
Did you guys catch that one? He said, but what did he say? I spit crack. It means, it's addicting, right? My flow is, once you hear it once, you can't get enough of it, right? Which is why we keep coming back. That's why we've done probably 70 of these different breakdowns. But he said, I stay strapped. Don't need the shoestring, right? When you got gym shoes on, if you have the strap, then you don't need the shoestrings because your shoe can still stay on tight, but also staying strapped like has a pistol on them.
Big crack and I stay strapped. Don't need the
shoestring.
Don't confuse things. The good shepherd gave me a new frame of mind so you can see that I'm different. That's word to 2 Chainz.
Word to 2 Chainz, right? I'm different. Yeah, I'm different. I'm different. Yeah, I'm different, right? That's that 2 Chainz song from a few years back.
Shepherd gave me a new frame of mind so you can see that I'm different. That's word to 2 Chainz. But I'm still the same OG. I stay low key.
He said I'm still the same OG, right? You might think he's saying I'm still the same original gangster, but there's a little low-key bar in there. For those that are my age, you know about Genuine. 9 o'clock, home alone, paging you, wishing you come over my place, right? That's how you get down. That's that baby making music right there. But he also has a song called The Same OG, right? Even though you see me on TV, I got my own CD. And then the hand at me, I still remain the same OG, right? So he's also, to play, that artist is named Genuine. So he's saying I'm the same OG, like I'm still the same old gangster, but I'm also still genuine, right? Amazing wordplay, man. That's what we expect from Tobe. That's sick, and it's going over most people's heads.
2 Chainz, but I'm still the same OG. I stay low key with more sauce than aioli. I play.
Ooh, aioli is a sauce that I guess you could call it a dip as well, but it's made. You got to mash garlic, right? Olive oil. Some people add an egg in, but it's just it's a sauce, right? But he's still saying like, I stay low key, not low key like Thor and Loki, right? But I stay low key like in the cut on my own. Not really not well known, but I'm just like low key. I just he's not doing the most, right? But when he says sauce, he's not just talking about aioli, right? He's talking about the urban definition of sauce. It's someone who has style, right? Confidence. There's an attraction to them. Someone who's well dressed, right? Fashionable. They have an aura around them. That's like, ooh, that boy got the sauce right there.
Start to rain on me. Key with more sauce than aioli. I play go lit when blessings start to rain on me and catch a lot of chips and guac aioli.
Ooh,
that's monetary blessings for you, slave.
yo, he's catching the chips, right? He said, I play goalie when blessings start to rain on me, right? What do you do when you play goalie? You got to catch it, right? You're like we're catching these bars, right? But he's talking about getting this dough, right? He's talking about chips and guacamole, right? Getting that green. Now he said, that's monetary blessings for you slow people, right? Chips and guac, right? That's getting cash, stacking your chips.
My flow that's monetary blessings for you
slow people.
My flow a monastery for them extra poor people.
Ooh.
That commentary and get honored really for the guava jelly they produce, even though they get thrown fecal.
See, I kind of feel bad about stopping it because sometimes the wordplay just continues. Let's let it ride a bit so I can hear that. But we said he said my flow's a monastery for them extra poor people, right? You hear, and again, my religious references aren't the best. I never really dove deep into religion, but people say that the tomb where Jesus Christ was, that wasn't his, right? He was a stranger when he was also born in a cave, right? It was basically, even people that dedicate their life, like nuns and they take a vow, and it's not just a vow of chastity, but in obedience. But a lot of times it's a vow of poverty, right? It's like, think of a monk, think of different types of nuns, right? It's one that they get away from all the possessions and they live a life of simplicity, if there's not a way to put it. But he could be talking about all the wordplay, right, with the simple people who aren't getting his references, but also talking about being in a monastery.
My flow a monastery for them extra poor people that don't tear me and catch a lot of chips and guac a Medley. Oh, that's monetary blessings for you slow people. My flow a monastery for them extra poor people that don't get commentary and get honored really for the guava jelly they produce, even though they get thrown fecal matter on a platter made by they oppressor.
Ooh, fecal matter is another word for saying shit. But he just talked about guava jelly. Guava is extremely rich in fiber. What does fiber do, right? Word to what's that girl from the Michael Myers movies? Curtis, Jamie Lee Curtis, right? But it's yogurt, but it's basically, it's going to make you regular, right? Or those drinks where they're fiber and it looks Metamucil, right? Fiber makes you poop. So he's talking about fecal matter. But he just rhymed it with matter on a platter by their oppressor. Woo! Ugly with it.
Matter on a platter made by they oppressor. I shatter all the chatter that seem to make us lesser.
Oh, he said I shatter, right? I break all the chatter, right? People talking that seem to make us lesser, right? Well, who is it? They try to belittle us, right? Make us lesser. Or you can actually trace it back to when they considered us property, or when they considered us 3/5 of a man, right? Less than full. Less than whole.
Made by they oppressor. I shatter all the chatter that seem to make us
lesser.
Anybody that put on they draws the same way I do. Name could be Motley the way I get it rocking with my crew.
Yo.
My name Tobe.
All right.
Which means praise God, but just like baseball by new too.
Ooh, I gotta bring it back.
The same way I do. Name could be Motley the way I get it rocking.
I missed a bar there.
Made by they oppressor. I shatter all the chatter that seem to make us lesser than anybody that put on they draws the same way I do.
Yeah, it's like yo, you in the morning you put on shoes the same way I do, right? You put on your drawers, right? The same way I do. We're the same type of people. Why are you considering me less of a man?
The chatter that seem to make us lesser than anybody
who put on their drawers the same way I do.
The way I get it rocking with
my crew. He's talking about Motley Crue, right? Motley Crue. That's also another way to say a poorly organized group, right? Or a diverse group.
My name Tobe Nwigwe, which means praise God, but just like baseball by knew too well just how good it felt to be a gangster.
Yeah, he's talking about Scarface. Scarface, he put together a group, right? It's a hip hop group that was called Face Mob, and they put out a song. They actually have a song called Gangsta Shit. So he's talking about how good it felt to be a gangster. Everybody knows about Scarface, or most people in the know about Scarface, the artist.
Like baseball by knew too well just how good it felt to be a gangster. Roll with more G's than bankers, but somehow found sanctums.
Ooh, roll with more G's than bankers, right? A G is $1,000. It's a stack, right? But you can also keep it a G. Right, but a G is a stack of dough, right? A G, if I'm gonna pay 3 stacks for a car, you're paying 3 G's, right? You're paying $3,000. But it's also wordplay. I roll with more G's. I roll with more gangsters too. The sanctum is like a sanctuary, if you would, right? It's a sacred place, right? You can have it could be definitely be a temple or a church.
Which means praise God, but just like baseball by knew too well just how good it felt to be a gangster. Roll with more G's than bankers, but somehow found sanctums. All up and through the streets of A-Leaf, grew up a beast, but in my pants kept a crease.
Ooh! Ooh, bro, I miss some Tobe Nwigwe. It's only been probably about a week before I got into some Tobe Nwigwe, but you think about it, we've only had the channel for about 8 weeks. So, right, not what is that, 1/8, right? That's an eighth, not where that's my wordplay, right? Talking about copping the eighth. No, but I like what he said. He said I grew up a beast, right, in the streets of Alief, Texas. But in my pants, I kept a crease. Yo, me too, player. Me too, player. I iron my clothes super old school. And I be telling the kids, like, yo, you want me to iron that? They'd be like, why did I iron it? They be just they buy clothes that are like rayon and like all these weird, like what we used to consider dry fit clothes for hooping. And now it seems like girls don't wear pants. Everybody wears leggings and guys are wearing like jogging pants. Man, I'm old school where when I'm going to go out and do something nice, I like to put on my shoes, right? I crease my pants. Well, I don't always crease my pants unless they're dress pants, but I use starch, right? Put them on the ironing board, hold them by the side, get the midpoint, tuck in the button, hold it by the crease, wet it, iron it, starch it, iron it, fold one flap over, hit that crease, fold it back over, hit it again, do the other side, flip it around, do both sides, make sure the cuffs are good. You don't want to iron with just spraying water or starch before it dries because it's going to leave white marks. I'm old school with it. I like to starch, especially my dress shirts. I'd like you to see the line that comes from my collar all the way to my cuff, right? You can see a straight line. It's fresh to death, right? But he's also saying, I kept the crease. I'm a beast. He's like saying I'm gangsta, but I still had class, right? Now, there were two sides to me.
A leaf grew up, a beast, but in my pants kept a crease. Now I slay beasts. Remember when I would slay freaks? Back when
slaying freaks, right? He said, now I slay, what did he say, beats or beasts?
Kept a crease. Now I slay beasts. Remember?
I think he said beats, right? Like he kills beats. Either way, if he's killing beasts, he's talking about killing demons, right? But like killing beats is probably closer to what he's saying. Like he kills the beat. He murders it every time he's on a beat, right? But he said, remember when I used to slay freaks? When you're slaying freaks, you're smashing, right? You're just laying out you're giving it to these girls, right?
A leaf grew up, a beast, but in my pants kept a crease. Now I slay beasts. Remember when I would slay freaks? Back when Sherwin worked at Popeyes and was sneaking a piece by a chicken straight through the drive-thru. Back when we was young, dumb, and broke in high school. When we
Shout out to Khalid, right? You're still thinking of me. That I know you should. I really did. Young, dumb, and broke, right? That's a shout out to Khalid.
Guns and swung on those I threw back when we was young, dumb, and broke in high school. When we would dodge guns and swung on those in Peru and would ride.
Ooh, I think he just connected with a previous bar, right? He said, we were young, dumb, and broke in high school. We would dodge guns and swung on those in Peru. But he also just talked about his boy working at Popeyes and would sneak out an 8-piece box, right? When you swing on someone, you're boxing them. That's sick wordplay. I don't know if a lot of dudes are catching that.
Dumb and broke in high school when we would dodge guns and swung on those in Peru and would ride living.
In Peru, I think he's just doing some wordplay there, and he's actually talking about the color. Previously known as red, right? I don't know if you guys know a lot about gangs. I'm from the inner city of Chicago. We don't really have Crips and Bloods, but we definitely have gang life here. And it's something you have to be knowledgeable about because if you go in the wrong set, right? You walk in someone's neighborhood wearing the wrong colors. All right, that's a no-no. So much so that when I was in grammar school, you couldn't wear different color shoelaces. You couldn't even wear black shoelaces. The shoelaces had to be white. Because you're a renegade neutron, right? That's what you say. They'd be like, yo, bro, what you is? That means what set are you from? And they'd be like, man, throw down the fork. You better not, because a lot of times those dudes are fronting. And they might be GDs, BDs, some sort of gangster disciple. But as soon as you throw down the forks, they go beat that ass. So the only answer, they'd be like, yo, bro, what you is, bro? Throw down the crown, throw down the fork, and let me prove it to me, right? Like, nah, bro, I'm neutron, bro. That just means you're neutral. That's why you got white shoelaces. But if you're wearing black and red or black and blue or green or pink and black, or there's a lot of colors, you got to be familiar, right? And you're not learning this in school. And I feel bad for you if you ain't got a daddy or a big brother or a boy, because you're going to fuck around and find out, and you're going to learn either way. So you might be asking, right, what are Pirus, right? Crips or Blood? Well, Piru is obviously in West Coast, LA, right? It's a street gang that's based out of Compton. Originally, it was a set of Crips, right? But Pirus are considered to be the original founders of the Bloods. So there was a lot of dispute. I'm sure you guys have heard about gang life and people dying over the colors they're wearing, and peace treaties and whatnot. But after a lot of disputes with the Bloods, the Pirus dropped the label of Blood, and it made the Piru gang separate from the Blood gang. Right, they no longer wear the color red. For those in the know, you might know this if you live on these streets. Pirus now wear the color burgundy or maroon to identify themselves, no longer red.
And broke in high school when we would dodge guns and swung on those in Piru and would ride, live, and die by one concise rule. That's lessons of one-on-one, no spectating.
Ooh!
Be trying to breathe with your chest vacant.
You know what that means? That means, if shit goes down, you better be down, right? It's just, unless it's one-on-one, right? If somebody's going to fight you, it's a bitch move that you're going to jump them because he wants to fight you. If it's one-on-one, for the old school cats, put up your dukes. I'll give you a knuckle sandwich, right? That means you're about to get into it, right? Take off your button down, leave your wife beater on, right? Make sure you pull up your pants, buckle them up, tie your shoelaces. Girls, get the Vaseline, take out your earring, put your hair up in that little hood rat bun, right? Because you know it's about to go down, right? He said it would ride, right? You live or die by one concise rule. Would he say that you'll get, unless it's one-on-one, this ain't no spectator sport. If we're getting into it with a group of guys and you're one of our group of guys, motherfucker, you better step up and at least throw some hands, right? And if you don't, man, back in the day, you catch a mouth shot, bro. That's a violation, bro.
So one-on-one, no spectating, or you'll get hit and be trying to breathe with your chest vacant.
Ooh, well, that's like, that happened to me before. That's when you're with your chest vacant. He's talking about you lose wind, right? You'll get hit and be trying to breathe with your chest vacant. When you knock the wind out of yourself. Like I remember when it can happen through your stomach or through your back. When I was young, I used to play ball myself. I remember there was a court we used to hoop at called Courtyard, and the rims were slightly lower. So they're probably 9 feet or 9.5 feet instead of the standard 10. And I could get up on a 10-foot rim. I could jump up, pull the rim down, but I could never dunk. Right? My hands just aren't that big. Couldn't grip the ball, and I'm not windmilling or anything, and I never really trained my legs like that. But at Courtyard, you throw it to me right, I'm back, right? I'm gonna come up. I could two-hand on that bad boy. I remember once somebody threw it to me, and I'm running up, and I thought I was gonna grab it and put it in, but man, when I hit the rim, my fingers just slipped off the rim, and I fell on my back. And I was just like a turtle on his shell. Like I just couldn't move, but I couldn't even cry or scream. I was just like, that had knocked the wind out of me. That's what that means. That's what he's talking about. You're trying to breathe with your chest vacant.
In Piru and would ride, live, and die by one concise rule. That's lessons of one-on-one, no
spectating. You get hit and try to breathe with your chest vacant.
That's the hood definition of breathtaking.
Yeah.
Horror films on the West daily.
Yeah, that's nice. He said that's the hood definition of breathtaking, right? When people are like, "Oh, that's a breathtaking landscape." No, breathtaking is when you get hit in your stomach or your back and you can't even cry, right? Like when your mama used to whoop your ass with that belt. I don't know where you're from, but my mom used to break a twig off the tree and whoop that ass, right? Get an electrical cord and like, oh, you got something, you about to get your ass whooped, right? You'd be like, Mama, no! And then you get older and you learn the trick, putting out your hand so you catch that belt and it just, and you could, and she'd be like, you better stay still or I'm going to whoop your ass again. Like, I used to fake an asthma attack so she just wouldn't whoop my ass and try to make her feel bad, right? But he said that's the hood definition of breathtaking. He said no Wes Craven. If you guys know Wes Craven, he's the director of Nightmare on Elm Street, amongst many other, right? Does horror films. He said no Wes Craven. I seen horror films on the West Daily, right?
That's the hood definition of
breathtaking.
West Craven. I seen horror films on the West Daily. Oh, but you play the cards you dealt when you don't get the picket.
Yeah.
The thickest, but she solicit Yahweh the quickest.
Ooh.
When trying to visit the mountaintop with intentions to sacrifice all with that in the thicket.
Ooh. Listen to what he just said, right? He said that. That's his wife, right? His baby mama and his wife. That's the love of his life. He said fat ain't the thickest, right? There's always somebody better. You could have a nice car, a nice crib, but there's always something better. The grass is always greener on the other side, right? Or at least it seems to be. But he said fat ain't the thickest, but she was also the quickest to Yahweh, right? To God, to Jesus, to religion. So she was the most religious. It didn't matter that she wasn't the thickest. She was the best for him, right? He said most people get explicit when trying to visit the mountaintop, with intentions to sacrifice all with that in the thicket. Thicket is like a dense group of bushes or trees. But basically he was saying like, yo, I got with my wife. She might not be a 10 to everybody, but she's a 10 to me, right? She's super thick. She's beautiful, but she was also the closest to God. Bro, deep. And then he said, what did he say about atonement?
With intentions to sacrifice all with that in the thicket. Ugh. I'm speaking solely of atonement, and most would get it.
Yo, atonement is like you're trying to do better for your past ways, right? Reparations even, right? For a wrong or an injury. So maybe he did her wrong. He did other girls wrong, but now he's doing right. But atonement is also a horror film, which he would tie in where he said no Wes Craven. But he's talking about horror films, right? I believe Atonement is one of those.
If they weren't living just for the moment. Ugh. I'm speaking solely of atonement, and most would get it if they weren't living just for the moment.
Ooh, most would get it, right? They get what he's doing if they weren't living for the moment. If you're living just for the moment, then yeah, you might smash fat, but you might keep moving on and just keep smashing girls. It doesn't matter how close they are with God. I've done my dirt too, right? I've always been a bigger dude. I'm about 6'2". I was a fraternity guy. A lot of people are like, I'm ambiguous in the face. They're like, what are you, black and white? Are you Puerto Rican? Are you Arabic? I kept them clueless, but I could move to different rooms. I was part of an Indian student fashion show, right? I used to get down with one of my boys who's actually my lawyer now, a real estate attorney. But he used to host, he was this good-looking Indian dude, no homo. And he used to have the Indian market on lock. And he put me on, and we used to host parties. So I would do hip hop parties. I would do Spanish night parties. I would do all of this, and we would play off the alternate nights. He would do Indian parties and reach different demographics. And together, we just collected dough, right? We would go into a restaurant or bar. We'd talk with the owner and say, what is your slowest night of the week? A lot of times it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? Depends on the school you go to, or, I was at NIU. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'd make a deal with him. Hey, this place is going to be empty anyway. What do you say about this? I'll pack this bad boy. You keep 100% of the bar. You keep 100% of your tips, and you keep whatever you make in the kitchen, but we just collect at the door. And then what we do is we'd get $5 for every guy. Girls get in free, of course, right? All the girls want to come up and show out and look cute. That means all the guys are going to come out. If you got a place that can hold, even if it's just 100 people, you're going to make some dough, right? Collecting at the door, something you wouldn't have otherwise, and you don't have to invest in a spot. So we did that a lot. We'd talk to restaurants, and eventually, if we had a packed night, I can also negotiate to get 10 or 20% of the bar, right? Or I'd have them supply, security or whatever it might be. But I was a fraternity guy. I had, pledges, right? You're working the door. You're working that angle. You're working this. Let's put it on rotations. But there's mad ways if you're an entrepreneur to make money when you're in school.
I'm speaking solely of atonement, and most would get it if they weren't living just for
For
the
the
moment.
moment.
The air we breathe is rented. Repent if you think you own it.
Yeah.
It's hard to comprehend when you busy bending them corners. Loners.
Ooh, bending those corners. That's an urban way. I mean, I guess there could be different interpretations, but that's what pimps do, right? They normally talk about bending those corners. That means that if you got a hoe, right, you drop her off on a corner and you pick up the hoe on basically you pick her up later at the same corner. So she's working those streets, right? It's a method of being a pimp, right? You're basically you're bending them corners, you're checking on your hoes, right?
You must become the separate. That's hard to comprehend when you busy bending them corners. Loners is what they say. You must become to separate yourself. That's a misnomer. Relationships are the greatest wealth.
Oh, he said a misnomer, right? A misnomer is a wrong or an inaccurate use of a word, right? So he's saying some people say you're going to be a loner if you separate yourself from being a player. And he's like, yo, no, that's a misnomer. It's a wrong use of the word. Relationships are the greatest, right?
If you think you own it, that's hard to comprehend when you busy bending them corners. Loners is what they
What
say.
you
must
become
to
separate yourself. That's a misnomer.
Relationships are the greatest wealth.
Ooh.
The problem is you in relationships where hate itself is the sole establishment. So much so you wouldn't date yourself.
Damn.
That's a pinch that might cause an abrasion.
A bruise.
We all miss some steps effing with Satan.
Yo, when you fuck with Satan, bro, he'll trick you, right? Satan is the devil, obviously, but it's not. Things aren't always what they seem. All that glitters is not gold. All the gold is not reality.
Relationships where hate itself is the sole establishment. So much so you wouldn't date yourself. Ouch. That's a pinch that might cause an abrasion. But don't fret. We
I feel like playing the keyboard.
He got the pissing on my leg and told me it's raining. But then led to the
right? Things aren't always what they seem. He said messing with semen, right? No, messing with Satan. He got the pissing on my leg, but he told me it's raining, right? Things aren't, all that glitters is not gold.
He got the pissing on my leg and told me it's raining. But that urination led to the actualization of me cracking the safe in my life to look past the frustration of one of my partners clapping his gal and blasting himself.
Ooh, that's a murder-suicide.
The world is flawed. Though it's all Gucci, it's the same dookie in different stalls.
Ooh, bro, listen to that wordplay, right? He's talking about the frustration, right, in the world and living your life right and Satan tricking people. He said one of his partners, right, and one of his buddies, somebody from his crew, killed, right? He killed his girl, then blasted himself, murder-suicide, right? The world is flawed. He said, yo, it's still Gucci, right? It's still all good. He said it's the same dookie in different stalls, right? Dookie is another word for shit. Normally you say dookie, I think, if you're more down south. Like my uncle who raised me was from Mississippi. He helped my mom, even though he wasn't a blood relative. Kind of a long story, but he used to say things like, you wash your hands in the face bowl, right? Or the commode. But he says say things like dookie, right? Instead of shit, crap, whatever, poop, whatever. He'd say dookie, and that's the same as he says it was the same shit, but different stalls, right?
So him introduced me to Lucy so we could waltz.
Ooh, that's deep. I don't know if a lot of cats are catching that. He said Elohim, right? Elohim. That's another word to say living God. Right, he's saying God introduced me to Lucy. Who's Lucy? Right, that's Lucifer. That's Satan himself. Right, Elohim introduced me to Lucy so we can waltz. He's basically talking about dancing with the devil. That's a way of saying that you're enthusiastically engaging in high risk behavior or immoral behavior. Right, it's called dancing with the devil. Yo, man, just incredible wordplay.
Gucci, it's the same dookie in different stalls. Elohim introduced me to Lucy so we could waltz. Then wipe me down like Boosie and use me to make withdrawals. On folk that got integrity and light, then pass it back to those that lack the necessities of life. The recipe for equity ain't in celebrity hype in your
bro. This is so deep. He said, wipe me down like Boosie, right? Now what? Hands, shoulders, knees, toes, right? Wipe me down. Wipe me down. Wipe me down. Do. Yeah, but it was like me da, right? So shout out to Boozy Badass, right? He said, wipe me down like Boozy and use me to make withdrawals on folk that got integrity and light. So either he's helping people show their better side or their true colors. By the way, wipe me down just means to stay fresh, right? Stay clean. But either he's talking about that. At first impression, I almost thought he was talking about robbing people, right? He said, use me to make withdrawals on folks that got integrity and light, then pass it back to those that lack the necessities of life. I kind of am thinking like a Robin Hood, right? Rob from the rich, give to the poor, the ones that are lacking what they need. He's taking it from those, right, that have it. But he could be talking about taking the way of the world, the good things, and giving it to the people, showing people that don't have it the way.
Low key tied to the of life. The recipe for equity ain't in celebrity hype and your destiny. Low key tied to the death of the device. It has your spirit mangled. I peep your frustrations.
The death of the device, right? The device that's killing us all.
Necessities of life. The recipe for equity ain't in celebrity hype and your destiny. Low key tied to the death of the device. That has your spirit mangled. I peep your frustrations. Stop giving CPR to dead situations.
Oh, stop giving life. Stop breathing life into people for the wrong reasons or helping people out of situations they can create themselves, right?
Spirit mangled. I peep your frustrations. Stop giving CPR to dead situations. Some people don't go far because they too impatient. I went from rapping in the car to rapping with Sway and Tracy G. I audaciously...
That Sway in the morning, right? That freestyle with Sway, the 5 fingers of death. You in the valley of the hyenas, right? That's what they do. I don't know if he specifically did the 5 fingers of death, but he was definitely on Sway in the morning.
Murdered every beat that they gathered on the plate for me. So they plainly see how the spirit embraces me way before I get to see all the G's like Freemasonry.
Freemasons, right? There's a G that represents Freemasons. It actually means a variety of different things, right? And depending on who you ask, they would definitely say the most important is obviously God, right? And I believe belief in religion or belief in God is one of the things that you have to be a Freemason. But they also it represents the grand architect who is God, but also geometry, right? Because there's different meanings, but you have to think of mathematical science, right? Which is the foundation of stonemasonry. So there's a lot, but I think most people in general term normally just means God. Yeah.
Embraces me way before I get to see all the G's like Freemasonry. Oh, taste and see the goodness of the drinking gourd. My Lord, reward the horde that follows the torch you stored inside my pen. My flow believe.
He said the gourd of the drinking gourd, right? There's a lot. There could be a lot of meaning to that, but I think of a slave reference, right? If drinking gourd was another name for the Big Dipper, right? You think of astrology and urban legend or urban myths. They say that the enslaved people used it as a point of reference so they wouldn't get lost, right? They were trying to find their way. It's before maps, before MapQuest, before GPS, right? And they were trying to find their way. There's also legends that there was a song that was used in the Underground Railroad. It was a song that was meant to guide slaves, right? I believe it was called Peg Leg, but it all ties in with the drinking gourd. I think it's well worth researching that, especially if you're Black yourself. It's important to know these stories because I think we just touch on Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad, but you have to understand how complex this was, right? How complex to deal with this before social media, before text messages, emails, phones, right? Think of how did people communicate? You had to have signs because obviously if the wrong people found them, you'd be in a whole heap of trouble, right? Man, just really interesting when you start digging into how the Underground Railroad operated, and things like the drinking gourd are a great way to start to dive into that.
My Lord, reward the horde that follows the torch you stored inside my pen. My flow be leading them towards shores that might convince them.
You could also be talking about, of the drinking gourd, my Lord, reward the horde. The horde is a group of people that follow the torch, right? You hear what he's saying? But he's also talking about the torch inside my pen, like someone passed the spark to me, like Black Dot co-signing on Tobe Nwigwe.
Toward you stored inside my pen. My flow be leading them towards shores that might convince them.
Ooh.
That healing might just can happen for the nappy heads. But
Yeah.
stop at the beach, dig deep, push past the edge, and let your toes hit that water, renew your aura, but keep a pistol to slaughter any demons that come at your neck.
Ooh.
Yeah. I said keep a pistol to slaughter any demons that come at your neck. Big Mo would be so proud.
Big Mo. They all got incredible voices.
My grandpa would be proud.
Shoot, I can step to this.
Now that's how you do for June 27th.
Ooh! Yo, I like that, man. Man, just kind of miss some Tobe Nwigwe, man. There's just something different about the music, right? It's not just breaking down the bars, but man, it means something to you. And he was one of the first artists that I started getting into on this channel, not just because of his wordplay and how sick he is, but because of what this station represents, right? Blackish University, modern day griots. What's a griot, right? It's someone that would pass information from one generation to the next. And I say, who's doing that for our youth today? And Tobe Nwigwe, right, is one of those people. I'm one of those people. I'm trying to take that message and share it with the masses. And man, if you're here to support, you love what we're doing on this channel, man, show some love by not just liking the video, but subscribing to the channel, right? Sharing it with your friends, sharing it on social media, and really helping us grow this platform. See you on the next video. Peace.